Your salary is named after salt. And that story? Probably fake. Roman soldiers, paid in salt. You've heard this one. Historians have looked. The evidence just isn't there. But stick around, because the true story is so much crazier than the myth. Salt started wars. It bankrolled empires, then burned them down. At one point, it traded for gold. By weight. This is the 3,000-year war over the world's first strategic commodity. And it ends with a question you actually need to answer. I'm Casey. Let's dig. First, why salt? Why not pepper or gold? Two reasons, and both are about staying alive. 1. Your body can't make sodium. No salt means no nerve signals, no muscle contractions, no you. 2. And this is the money part. Before refrigerators, salt was the only way to store food at scale. Salted fish fed Rome's armies. Salted pork crossed oceans. Think about what that means. Salt was the world's first battery. It stored a harvest and released it months later. Control salt and you don't just control flavor. You control time. And anything that controls time becomes money. So, who was the first government to figure that out? The first people to weaponize this? China, 2,600 years ago. A minister named Guanzhong figured out the trick every government still uses. Don't tax people directly, they riot. Instead, monopolize something everyone has to buy. Salt. The tax hides inside the price. You pay it with every meal, and you never see it. By 119 BC, the Han Dynasty ran salt as a full state monopoly to fund its wars. And in 81 BC, the court held a formal debate. Should the state control salt or the market? They wrote it down, word for word. We think state versus market is a modern fight. China had it on the record 21 centuries ago. At its peak, salt paid for up to a third of the empire. The monopoly fed the state. But what if your kingdom has everything except salt? Now, the Sahara, 1,000 years ago. There's a town called Tagaza where the buildings are made of salt. Literally, salt brick walls, salt mosques. Why mine salt in the middle of a desert? Because the empires of West Africa had gold everywhere and almost no salt. In tropical heat, without it, food rots and bodies fail. So at times, the exchange rate hit the unthinkable. Salt for gold. Weight for weight. Let that sink in. Kitchen salt equal to gold. Scarcity was never about what a thing is. It's about where it isn't. That one trade route made Timbuktu one of the richest cities on earth, and Mansa Musa, by some estimates, the richest human who ever lived. Meanwhile, a soggy lagoon town in Italy realized something even smarter. You don't need to own the salt at all. Venice took the idea and perfected it. A city with no farmland, no forests, no mines, just a lagoon. But lagoons make salt, and Venice did something smarter than selling it. It forced every ship in the Adriatic to trade salt through Venice, and took a cut of every single deal. Salt money built the fleet built the empire built the banks of the Rialto, the same neighborhood where modern finance learned to walk. Venice's lesson to every empire that came after: you don't need to own the resource, you need to own the choke point. But squeeze a monopoly too hard, and it explodes. Ask France. The gabelle, the French royal salt tax, might be the most hated tax in European history. In some provinces, salt sold for dozens of times what it cost to make. And here's the insane part. Every person over the age of 8 was legally required to buy a minimum amount every year. Mandatory shopping at crown prices. So France became a nation of smugglers. Tens of thousands arrested every year. Men sent to row galleys for carrying salt. The smuggler became a folk hero. And when the revolution hit in 1789, the gabelle was near the top of every list of grievances. The tax that funded the state helped burn it down. Squeeze an essential good hard enough and you don't get revenue. You get revolutionaries. Then one man took this logic to its endgame, and he didn't even need a weapon. British India, 1930. The empire owned salt. It was illegal for Indians to pick it up from their own beaches. Gandhi saw what London missed. The monopoly wasn't their strength. It was their exposed nerve. He walked 386 kilometers to the sea, with the world's press following every step. He bent down and picked up a handful of salty mud. That's it. That was the weapon. Within weeks, millions were making illegal salt. 60,000 went to prison. But you can't jail an idea, especially this one. A law against nature's free gift is absurd. 17 years later, the British were gone. So how does a 3,000-year war just end? Two boring inventions killed it. Refrigeration, freeze food, and salt loses its monopoly on time. And geology, Drill deep mines anywhere, and it loses its scarcity. Today, we throw salt on roads. The thing empires killed for is table trivia. And that's the real lesson. No strategic resource stays strategic forever. Salt fell, whale oil fell, coal got dethroned. So, what's our salt? The thing we're building monopolies, taxes, and wars around right now that our grandkids will sprinkle on fries? Drop your answer below. I read all of them. I'm KC. This is KC Currents. New episode every week.